Well, I've mentioned John a few times already. This is John in 1969 on the cover of Chess Life when he was the national high school champion out of Brownell Talbot. And Brownell Talbot also ended up having a national junior high champion in the 1990s. So that's John in 1969. Think of it, the cover of Chess Life. That's a big, big deal. Now, try to find John in 1972. No haircut in those 3 years. But John was a charismatic guy, and that really fit him well. We all looked up to John not only as a player, but just as a personality, and then later as a fabulous author. He wrote books that received international awards, British Book of the Year, U.S. Chess Federation Book of the Year, great theoretical, philosophical kinds of books like Moonsevich. So a lot that John has done in his career. So John, just wanted to take advantage of your being able to be here by Zoom and tell us a little bit about your memories or your current thoughts on chess. We hang on your every word.
Let's make sure this is working.
It's kind of light.
Yeah, but
I can hear
The volume.
Well, I can't adjust that from my side. Maybe you can adjust that from the speaker side.
yeah.
I'm as close to that. I can get a little closer to the microphone, but not much. Is that a little better?
Just a second. 1 second, you can hear from that.
John
from
quite
over
clearly.
there. Yeah.
I can hear him over here.
Well, yeah, it's coming from the laptop.
I can hear him too. I'll keep making nonsense
You
noises.
want me to put my mic over there?
That might work.
Well, wait, we have this extra mic. I don't like using these kind anyway, so why don't you put that over there?
Okay, try it now.
Okay, I'm gonna talk a little bit. Well, testing.
Can we hear from
Nebraska
back?
chess rules.
Okay, we're good.
No.
We're good.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, let me take it away then. Hi everybody, and thanks especially to Rodney for the invitation to appear at this unique event. It's such an interesting and very accomplished set of players, as well as organizers and other chess associated people. I want to especially at first congratulate the inductees, who are Rodney, Alexei, Keaton, and Kim. All of them are exceptional contributors to chess, and really, for the most part, lifelong contributors to chess. So I think it's especially nice to see all of these people that I know have done so much for Nebraska chess and also chess in general. It's also nice to see people who come to game along by their writings. In fact, two of the inductees are probably best known for their writings. And I also hope everybody appreciates the presence of John Harper. I know Rodney already mentioned him, but he's arguably the leading personality in all of American chess journalism. Just so that you appreciate it, it's nice that he can be our guest at this event. He's not only the editor of Chess Life for Kids, by the way, but has also done massive writings, videos, instruction, and other journalistic activities. So let me just comment on a couple of subjects, and then let you get on with the business of the evening. I won't try to present too much of the time. I've recently been thinking about the value of chess for young people especially. I've taught chess for over 50 years now, and I've only stayed in touch with a few students on a fairly regular basis, but from time to time, I'm contacted by students, usually by email. Sometimes I run into them at chess events. And they're people I haven't seen for years, maybe 10, 20, 30 years. And we usually set up some sort of meeting, and we end up talking on the telephone. So I'm always a little worried that I'm not going to have anything to say, because these are people who aren't really playing chess much anymore, and they have their professional But it turns out it's never a problem. And that's kind of why I'm talking about this subject, is because it's something that's occurred to me over the last 5 to 10 years, especially frequently, that these conversations go very smoothly because people have such great enthusiasm for their early chess experiences, and that's all they really want to talk about, which is quite amazing how impressionable kids are and how great these experiences were for them. So much so that I feel they were maybe the happiest times of their childhood, and some of the best times of their life were going to tournaments for the first time, maybe to a new city, maybe traveling with a friend, away from home for the first time, and getting to know people and using the same language and the same, being sort of comrades with adults and learning how to get along with them, how to become an adult, and the idea that this has given them so much confidence and helped them a lot, I think, in their later lives. And they really, I think it's amazing, we really underestimate the social side of chess. I don't think I would have said this a few years ago, because we always think in terms of the benefits of chess involving discipline and concentration, thinking skills, sportsmanship, and the like. But I think the social experience is at least as important as those, because it's the one that really lasts and really has a tremendous impact on people throughout their lives. So I just wanted to kind of make that point, because for one thing, nowadays it's increasingly possible to play chess just merely online, or even to learn chess online, play it almost entirely online. Certainly most of the games being played in the world are online games. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think a young person can learn pretty much everything from exercises, ebooks, and playing online. So it's not that players can't learn about chess in a very profound way and very efficiently. It's also cheaper to learn from online. But I think it's worth mentioning what's been lost if players don't go to clubs, and they don't maybe join their school club, and maybe they don't get to travel to tournaments very much, and especially they don't get to travel with friends or families. These are things we all did when we were younger. We analyzed with friends, we knew people. There were postmortems after games, and there was plenty of time to have them, and now there really isn't. So I think we have a lot of organizers in this audience and a lot of people who teach a lot. And I just thought I'd mention that keep in mind how valuable those experiences are, and maybe we can kind of encourage them more. Obviously, online chess is still going to dominate most people's play, but there's room for example, joining your school club, or just going to physical tournaments, and or inviting people you know over to your house and studying with them. I think it's an incredibly valuable experience in chess. So, just a little thought that I've been having recently. Anyway, lastly, before I waste too much time, I want to mention a few names from my early chess experiences in Omaha. There's Reverend Howard Oman, is probably the most important one in many ways, and Ken Nelson, who's here and being inducted, has written a book about him, so you'll have plenty of time to read about him over the next few years. He was my first mentor, and oddly enough, the first person I met at the Omaha Chess Club. He was always trying to encourage everyone, people who were shy, and he invited me to play a game, having no idea who I was. Of course, I lost, but it's a great memory. He ran the club for years and kept chess alive in Omaha, along with Jack Spence, and Jack Spence, of course, was a giant of Nebraska chess and internationally known for his chess publications. I think John Thomas might say a word or two about Jack Spence. And finally, speaking of John Thomas, he was my most powerful influence. He was not only the best player around, but he was somebody who was steeped in the history of chess and had incredible respect for the players and the game itself, the theory of the game, and the idea of the game, the excitement of the game, and the profundity of the game. And I had none of those ideas. I was just someone who just was throwing pieces around. And we'll always appreciate John's contribution to my chess. the ceremonies and the tournament. And I will leave it at that.
Well, John, thank you very much. It means a lot to hear from you, and the comments about the social aspect. I think this is a reflection of that. All of the memories we have of being together. I need one favor from you, John. I need you to pick a number between 1 and 10. You're on mute, but I think
I muted myself, 7.
okay, we have 7, and I need help as well from 2 other people. How about Craig Wilkins? Can you give me a number between 1 and 10?
8.
Okay, great. And Craig, a leading organizer and benefactor of chess in Nebraska now. How about my old high school buddy Larry Skipper? Where's Larry? Larry, how about, can we get a number for you?
5.
5. Okay, we'll understand what this is about right now. So John donated a couple of his books autographed, and we will give those away in the raffle tomorrow. But he also wrote some fun comics back in the day. And I don't want to give those away tomorrow because some kid wins it and doesn't understand how funny it is about smoke being blown in your face while you're playing, or a 1970s computer running up against some Soviet bloc player, right? So we're going to give that away now, and John selected number 7. So the way I do that is the tables are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's going to be back there. And then I go clockwise, starting at the top there, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's a table that doesn't have 7 people. Now, what are the odds of that? So we'll circle back around, and it looks like we get to you, Keaton, or is the lady to your right? Are you 2 together?
Yeah.
Oh, you 2 are together, so that works.
Yeah.
Well, you win these comics, and you'll really appreciate it. Okay, so are we? Okay. We have. Let's take a look at that picture a little bit, then we'll have Loren up. But let's see, John Herstein. Here's Wes. Is Wes here?
Yeah.
Oh, Wes, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I didn't run into you earlier. So Wes Schmidt here.
Put me in the picture.
We got Rich Chess. There's Gary Colvin. There's John Tomas looking at John Watson. Loren, where are you? There's Loren.
Edmondson.
Ed Edmondson, right. Big Arpid Elo, the Elo rating system is here too, but I can't remember which one he was. There's, who is?
Rich Perry, you're there, right?
No, Rich wasn't. I thought Rich was over there. There's Anton.
Yeah.
There's some little kid with thick glasses.
Mark Kitchen, that's it.
It's just a few months before Mark came into the club, as I remember. But anyway, that's one that means a lot to a lot of us. And you know how I found this? I was going through old vacation books with my parents, and it was in the same one about going to Yellowstone in 1973. So Mom had that. Thank you, Mom, for keeping that all these years. Okay, well, we told you that you were going to be able to hear from Loren Schmidt. Now, Loren Schmidt created a great problem for the name tags because he is, let me see if I can get all 16 of these right. He is Senior Master, FIDE Master, International Correspondence Chess Federation International Master, PhD in English, and PhD in philosophy, and someone I looked up to more than anybody when I was learning chess. Loren, come on.
So many old friends here. It's wonderful to see all of you, and some of you I didn't recognize. Others, even if we knew you for 20 years, I have to take a look at the name tag and make sure So something happened to us over the years, didn't it? I can't figure it out. But I'm pretty much the same. Well,
I recognize you on the street.
there's a little shorter.
Well, but perfect picture of you of the times. That's how I remember you, Loren.
That's, yeah.
Very friendly, very approachable. I met Loren Easter Day Recreation Center. He was in high school and he was a legend in the neighborhood. Everybody knew about this Loren Schmidt. And I hardly played chess. I went down there and won the checkers championship. It was so early. But Loren was just sitting in a pose like that, very friendly, and was always willing to teach people how people learn to play. All right, we had a slide. I'm looking for it. Excuse me. Well, we'll just do it later. It's not in the order I thought it was, but we'll just do it later. So we wanted to first look here at some of the big accomplishments of the 1970s. What made it so great? And then turn pretty quickly to have Loren and John Tomas talk about some of the early days and what might have made this Nebraska such a fertile area, kind of the Athens of the Midwest, as I like to call it. So some of the achievements, just really quickly. We had the National High School Champion. 14 people were masters. Now, master meant something a lot more back then, because the leading players in the country were in the low 2500s. People like Benko and Lombardi. So this is only 300 points from the top. And there weren't very many masters at all. Between the Mississippi River and California, very, very few masters, but a whole bunch of them right here in Nebraska. The UNL team champions, Alexi we'll talk about in a bit, became the U.S. Women's Champion. Alexi and Loren played in the Chess Olympiad. We'll hear from Loren about that. We had a U.S. Chess League team where we competed against big cities. United States Deaf Champion, John Steff, we'll have a nice picture of that. In a minute, we have correspondence champions, Anton Sildnitz, Wayne Presnell. Wayne's son is here. Yes, thank you for coming. And of course, Loren. Bruce Rainey, Mike Matthews, where's Mike sitting? There we go, Mike. We're class champions. No, somebody put me in. I was master and state champion at 16.
He always leaves off his U.S. under 13 Junior Open champion.
Well, it wouldn't have happened if you hadn't taken me up on the bus. So thank you, Loren.
The whole team was here for them, because that was Mike Matthews and Brad Reese,
right.
And Rod and myself all went to the Junior Open together.
The whole group. After Mom met Mike Matthews outside the chess club and said, "You take care of him." So I was 12 years old. We got up there, and Jesus Christ Superstar is, of course, the big movie. But it was rated PG or R or something. We had this big discussion about whether I should go. Thanks for looking out for me, Mike. We held all these great tournaments. We had these great organizers that we'll talk about more. We've been talking about great authors, and we'll talk about that too. And then I have this because Rich Chess. And where's Rich sitting? Right in front of me, Rich. Look at Rich Chess, who's ranked 11th in the country under 21. This is about 1973. But I want you to look at the list where everybody's from. It's all New York, Chicago, and California. Look at this. The greater New York area. Rhode Island, got some Pennsylvania, some Philadelphia, New Jersey, all of this. And really the only exceptions are Rich Chess and some of our good friends very nearby, Elliot Winslow over in Missouri, and Doug McClintock in Missouri, and John Frankel in Iowa. So that just gives you a little bit of an idea of how bizarre and unlikely it was that we had this kind of strength here. So Loren, I know that you actually teach a class on how Athens of the Midwest developed in various fields. So kind of turn it over to you to talk with John Tomas about that.
Okay, John and I can talk about this a little bit here. As you were saying, I'm a professor of English and philosophy for 45 years now, and getting near to retirement next year. but one of my favorite classes for the last 30 years has been a class called Philosophy and Culture. And what it does is it looks at philosophical ideas and how it ties in with art and music and literature and all the cultural elements and how they go together. And so logically you end up focusing on a lot of these golden ages, you know, the golden age of Greece, where you've got the competing playwrights and sculptors and so forth, and then the Ninja Turtles of Italy, where the Ninja Turtles are all Italian Renaissance sculptors and artists, and that there's this both camaraderie and competition to be the best and to get to the top. And I think that's one of the elements that you find in there. I mean, if you look at other periods, you can do the same thing. Like what caused the surge of the British invasion rock and roll bands of the 1960s? Many of whom are still considered the greatest of all time bands. And you know, when they talk about it, it has a lot to do with that interaction. And to bring John into this right away, when I started playing chess, I first started getting interested in tournament chess because I was reading Bobby Fischer's column in Chess Life, not Chess Life, Boys Life. I was a Boy Scout, right? And Fischer had a column in there starting in the mid-'60s. And I didn't know they had tournaments for people like us, but my Boy Scout troop was organizing tournaments and reading Bobby Fischer. And then when 1970 rolled around, we discovered that there were tournaments. And they actually let people. I missed the 69 Open because I didn't know I could play in it. But when we got there, the guys who were, you know, the Colossus, the Aristophanes, the Euripides, the Leonardos, it was these two guys. The guys we were looking up to, that was the measuring stick. How well could you do, not necessarily beat them, but hold them a tough game or get close to them in the tournament rankings. And it was these two Johns. And they were, you know, our demigods that we had to try to live up to. And I can bet a lot of the players that come out of the 70s have that same memory, that's the yardstick you're being held to. John, do you have some comments, of course, that you can add to this as the guy who was part of that?
Well, I'm very pleased to be with you this evening, and I only wish that I could be there and participate in the tournament. But unfortunately, that's impossible. People have been saying a lot of nice things about, particularly, my former worst enemy and best friend, John Watson. I agree. I've been asked on a couple of occasions, what really set that era apart? Because when I was starting at the Omaha Chess Club in 1961, 62 was the first time I joined there and played as an 8th grader in the city high school championship. Thereafter, for the next 3 or 4 years, I would come down during the summertime whenever I possibly could. And Howard Oman and I would go to lunch, talk about everything but chess, and then play serious but not clock games. But what happened, I think, in that period, everyone talked about the 50s as the golden age of Omaha chess. Richard McClellan, Howard, Al Ludwig, those players. Delmar Saxon was still playing during that period. Dick Vincent was coming up. But my own opinion was, after I saw what happened in the early 70s and the late 60s, was that in fact the 70s is the golden age of Omaha chess. And I think 3 people basically are responsible for that. First of all, unfortunately, Robert James Fischer. He was responsible for enormous outpouring of interest in the game, and that was true in Omaha as in anywhere else in the country. In Chicago, as I've worked with basically the last 50 years, with a brief hiatus in Santa Barbara, California. The second one, and I think equally important, was John Watson. I can tell chess will remember going over to Mike Blankenau's house in 1972 when Blankenau's parents were in Europe. And Mike, Jeff, me, and Mark Seitzer, and of course Mike Blankenau. And we would spend all evening there playing speed chess, speed tournaments. We would play foosball and end up at the chess home to watch them live after that was all over. But the one thing that we were all trying to do was figure out how to beat John Watson. We really did figure it out, but we spent all of our time trying to do that. The third person that I would mention, and it's pretty obvious, is Jack Spence. John mentioned Jack's international reputation. A number of grandmasters knew him. I've told this story before, and John Hartman has even mentioned it in his article on how I know him. But I was at the U.S. Open in 1968 at Snowmass in Asheville, and Jack came to visit along with Richard McClellan. And Robert Byrne, who's friends with Jack, introduced him to Ben Larson, who was at that point one of the top 5 players in the world. And he mentioned his name, and Larson looked up with a big smile on his face and simply said, "Spence Limited Editions." And that's how important Jack Spence was. There's no source for those games without Jack's effort. And John can tell you how much work it is to do that type of work without what we have today, which is basically chess-based. Without that, it's an enormous amount of work. I've tried to do it. I worked on one book with John's old friend Eric Schiller, and I've done groups of games from various tournaments. But it's great teamwork. And Jack did it basically without remuneration. But beyond that, after Howard's death, he realized that somebody had to take over the Omaha events. And he started taking over. The last week or so, I'm reading the old Bowman Memorial Club bulletins of that period. And you realize how much he gave to the young players who were active and becoming masters at that time. Mark Seitzer, Mike Blankenau in particular, and Rodney. I don't know whether Rodney remembers, but we met in 1979 at the US Open, came over to talk when I was working on the bulletins there. Those are the 3 players that I simply blame for whatever for the outpouring of ability and brilliant chess of that period. And I'll tell one story about how Omaha was considered. I moved to Chicago in 1971. I went to Chicago. My mother was living there. I was still a graduate student at Creighton. And I went into a major tournament. And at that point, my rating, I had not lost a game in like 8 or 9 months. My rating was right around 2,200. I walk in the door, and people set me up playing speed chess with the best player around. And you could see in their body language and their facial language what they were thinking. This is a Rube from Omaha. Well, fortunately, the guy that they set me up to play with was underrated master. Didn't turn out to be stronger than I was. And that got me entree into some of the strongest players of the area. So once again, it's time for me to stop and for Loren to go back to it. Loren and I have played, 5 speed games and 1 real game in our lives. And broke even, as I recall. All draw.
Yeah.
2 minutes.
Remember you guys have.
So once again, thank you for inviting me. Great to see John Watson again. I haven't seen him in a long time, and I'm hoping he's doing well. And I hope you all enjoy this. And as I said, I really wish I could play, but I can't really play anymore since I can't sit up for very long.
It's a pleasure just to see you and talk to you, John.
Yes. John really mentioned the competition aspect of it, everybody trying to beat John Watson. So
Yeah.
everybody's trying to be Sophocles. So, yeah, and you mentioned Mark Seitzer. Here's Mark, Mark over here. John mentioned a few times. We will. Let's see. We want to go to the Bobby Fischer that. But my clicker's not working. Okay, so Bobby Fischer and Muhammad Ali were the two most famous people for a period around 1972. Let's go to the next one. Famous chess life cover where we have Brezhnev and I think that's Kosygin talking to Spassky and saying, as Spassky's preparing all these pawn to king 4 openings, but Boris, what if he doesn't play pawn to king 4? And we'll come back to that in a second, but Mike Matthews, we found out, we had this slide already, then in some emails we find out, Mike, you want to hold that up? Mike has a framed copy of it, and he's going to put it in raffles. Uh-oh. And, I mean, the coincidences were just crazy, because we also had this that we're going to give away tomorrow, and we're going to give it away right now, which is a piece of abstract art showing the famous Game 6 of the Fischer-Spassky match, where Fischer did not play pawn to king 4. He played the English opening and won the game, a beautiful positional game. And despite the Cold War stresses, Boris Spassky applauded like a gentleman at the end of the game. And so this is a piece of abstract art. You're not going to be able to see it very well, but it depicts every move in the game. And for those of you who are closer, there's C2 to C4, Fischer's first move right there. So we're giving this away. I have to flip back and see what that other number was. Everybody remembers it as being an 8? Yes, it was. It was an 8. Let's hope there are 8 people on the table. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The table back here that had John. So John's number 1 on the clock. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I don't know your name, but the woman with the black. You, yes. Oh, you're JJ. You're with JJ.
Yes, I'm JJ's spouse.
Okay, well, fantastic. Well, you and JJ get this. I hope you enjoy it. Well, Loren, why don't we go through as much as we can, maybe take another 10 minutes, 10 to 15, probably 10 minutes, and go through some of the accomplishments more. And here's a picture of Mike, by the way, from back in the day. When he became the Nebraska state champion. That's the Midwest Open, it's the state championship. A lot of trophies there, Mike. And you'll see some of these trophies out on the display table. Nebraska has some of the weirdest trophies. Cattle Country Open, you win a trophy with a cow and things like that. So it'll bring back a lot.
Between Gary Marks and Terry Kane, those were the days, yes.
And Loren, there you are. So tell us the story of the national championship team. And we have John Rose here, Gary Colvin.
Yeah, I want to call on all those guys real quickly.
Sure.
Everybody here who played for a University of Nebraska team in that era, if you would just stand for a moment. We got a bunch of them. Absolutely. So as John was saying, Tomas was saying, the energy coming out of Omaha was one thing. Well, how did it get to Lincoln? Combination of things. We'll talk about the Lincoln Chess Foundation. I'll mention that later when I'm talking my memoriam for B. Frank Watson. But that led to the organization of the U.S. Opens and the Jerry Spahn and the Organizers Invitational. So there's some energy there, support for bringing in strong players. But also, a whole lot of those Omaha players went to the University of Nebraska afterwards. And so we were able to do a transfusion of chess knowledge from Omaha to Lincoln during this period. And that really created this synergy at the Nebraska Union. When I got my card for the hotel here, I got a Memorial Union one. I said, well, that's really fitting here because that's where we played our chess. Okay, yeah, we played bridge, and we played Dungeons and Dragons, and we played spoons, and all kinds of other things. But the number one game was chess, and we analyzed chess there. And we had club at the Nebraska Union, and we organized to go to tournaments together. And so, starting in '72, we started taking a team to the Pan American. And several of our people here played on that team. Bill played, and I played, and Rich played. So that's most of our team right there. Unfortunately, Mike isn't with us. But that team did all right. We got a tie with Toronto, which was the second place team, but we got crushed by Maryland in the last round and finished out of the money. But we came back. And every year we got better. So we moved up from being about 20th to being 12th, and then we moved up to 4th with a team with Mike Blankenau, along with Rich and Mike and myself. And then the next year we won the Pan American Intercollegiate. Go Big Red! I have a number of University of Nebraska #1 chess bumper stickers that I've brought that we'll probably give away tomorrow, right?
Right.
So if you've always wanted a University of Nebraska chess bumper sticker, this is your big opportunity. So, yeah, it was sort of an astonishing thing. We made the NBC News.
Right, and you're ahead of MIT and Harvard and that list.
Yeah, the teams we played that year, Harvard and Yale and Columbia and CCNY and Florida. That's who we were competing against at the top echelon.
Yeah. And here's the team. Here's
that's the team from next year.
Okay.
Okay, this is the team that took second place in 1977. Because this is, like you said, go ahead.
We have Loren and John here. And this is the Mike Blankenau we keep mentioning, but we haven't found. And Gary.
He can't hear you because he's got the headphones on.
Right.
There was a big controversy at the tournament. There was no way you could get anything back then electronically. But when he's playing chess openings in his headset, no, he was just playing music in there. But this team took second place in the Pan Am. So we had that whole legacy for about 6 years, where every year we finished in the top 20, and we topped out with a first and a second place result in there.
Dynasty like the football team.
And at the same time, we were playing in the ACUI tournaments, where we had a number of people. Gary played in that, and Bruce, and myself, and Mike Chess. Mike and I were the team for a number of years. And I think Bruce already mentioned the tournament. Was that, did you, or were you just talking about that at the table?
That was the regional.
Right.
Went to Springfield, right.
Right. So Mike and I tied for first at Springfield, which is a whole Bruce story. I won't do it. I've already shown that I am indeed an anecdoter, right? An old dotard who can't help but tell anecdotes. But Mike and I ended up both being invited then to the national, and I took first place, and Mike was fourth. And so part of that chess dynasty, multiple wins in the ACUI, including a national championship.
Sure.
So,
Well, we love your anecdotes, Loren, and you were also a chess teacher, and ended up with a student named Alexei Rudolph. And here's an interview of Alexei from Bud Narveson, who we all revere. Her long-range goals are less modest. She aims to be world champion someday.
Yeah.
Women's world champion, Bud asks. She sniffs in disdain. The world's champion, period. Someday I hope to beat Bobby Fischer. Well, she didn't accomplish that, but she did become the United States women's champion.
and Bobby quit before she could get it.
Yes, yes. And she looks like the Mona Lisa. Isn't that amazing? Pull it up on Wikipedia, refresh yourself on the Mona Lisa. There is no difference.
Yeah, Alexei was my very first student.
Yes, yes, and I understand that Alexei dedicated one of your early books to Loren, so that's really nice. And now, moving on to the chess Olympics that you and Alexi were both in, Loren.
Well, after I got out of graduate school, I ended up in Japan, first with the University of Maryland and then with the Japanese University, Kyorin Daigaku in Tokyo. And getting back to one of the weird things about our era from the 1970s, you really couldn't get any international ratings or titles or anything in the Midwest. I played in all kinds of tournaments that now are FIDE rating. I played in over 10 Pan Ams. And I played in 4 US Opens and multiple other events that are now all FIDE rated. But when I went overseas to Japan, I had no FIDE rating and therefore was registered with no country. And so the Japanese guys said, would you like to be Japanese? I am a Japanese player. So I've been Japanese ever since. I'm still Japanese. I'm playing international correspondence for the Japanese Olympic team right now, and have for over 10 years. So, but this is I think this is Thessaloniki, right? And I played in two Olympics. Alexi played in one, and of course we ran into each other there and hung out a little bit. As much as you can in a tournament where you've got to one 5-hour round a day, and then you've got to go with your team and do all the preparations for the next days and so on. But it was really great to see her and catch up then. How do you feel about your Olympic experience, Alexi?
So I was at the 1990 Olympiad, and I was the alternate. And my job was really chief babysitter of Elena Akhmilovskaya at the time was married to John Donaldson. Elena Akhmilovskaya was a top U.S. women's player and played almost every round. John Donaldson was the captain of the U.S. team. So they were busy, and they had a 10-year-old daughter. Elena had a 10-year-old daughter named Donna. And I was pretty much her babysitter. I played 2 rounds out of the 16-round tournament. But it was an important for Donna Donaldson to be taken care of. So that was my Olympiad.
I'm sorry to make you tell us that story, but so yeah. So we've had Americans playing from the Lincolnites playing in the Chess Olympics, and moving on to the next one.
Yeah, I mean, an amazing range of championships we have. John Stepp was the United States Deaf champion.
And played internationally for the United States as well.
And Anton Silvmetz was United States correspondence champion. And correspondence was an especially big deal back in the 1960s and 70s when he was a lead player. And if you want to know more, as we mentioned, Ken Nelson wrote a wonderful book about Anton Silvmetz, who we all just admired. You can see how friendly he is. And Al Lawrence here became the executive director of the United States Chess Federation. Here he is playing in our club in Lincoln in the late 70s.
This young hippie.
Playing with Rich Perry over here, who went on to be state champion 4 times in a row, right? And there's Ken. And there's Anton again.
Laughing at them.
That's one of my favorite pictures. And then, of course, here's the brochure from the 1975 U.S. Open that's here. And a couple people have mentioned to me in the conversations in the last hour the game where Loren drew Grandmaster Pal Benko. We were all so proud of you, Loren, doing that. Loren was up on the stage playing with black. If you're not a chess player, that's like playing as a visiting team. You have a slight disadvantage. He held a draw. And I checked that game out with one of the supercomputers a month ago, Loren, and there are no improvements. I mean, you both played perfectly and you held that draw. It was such an accomplishment.
Thank you.
Can we just, after all these years, thank you for a two-time candidate for the World Championship.
Can I ask Laura a quick question? How long was your non-losing streak?
I didn't lose a game from the 7th round of the previous U.S. Open in New York in 74 until the 5th round of this U.S. Open. So I had like 115 games and almost exactly a year that I didn't lose, and that's when my rating moved to master. Because I won the A prize at the U.S. Open in New York. And then by the next year I was a master, mostly by not losing.
and completely self-taught. Nobody had teachers or anything.
Right.
And Loren's just studying his way up and leading all of us who are, following behind.
How many rounds did you carry the teddy bear
For the U.S. Open?
for the U.S. Open?
Oh, the T-Bear was only here for 1 round. That was the game against Banco.
Okay.
Sue, your wife, brought him down to the tournament and gave him a seat in the audience so he could watch.
All right, well, we also had fantastic high school chess in Nebraska back then, and we'll end with a discussion of the high school chess. This is what was called the legendary Omaha Central team of 1973 and 1974. They went 18 1/2 in Nebraska high school championship. So 18 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. We have Mark Seitzer here, a representative of the team. And that 1 loss, I see your eyebrows raised. You remember, Rich Perry took out headset Mike Blanken out. But, this was an amazing team. And we just want to recognize, as our last slide here, all the team members of various teams. Brownell Talbot, of course, we have John Watson. Paul Rower won the National Junior High in the 1990s. North Platte, yes. How about West Side? Do we have anybody who played for West Side? Yes, Gary, you were West Side, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, and Burke, that was you, Rich, right? Okay. Omaha South would be Rich.
And John
Anyone else?
John Drexel on the...
Were you Omaha South? Yeah, you were, okay.
Yeah.
And how about Creighton Prep? Okay, 1. And, well, I know Pius, we're gonna have Mark and Larry. Yeah, you guys missed each other just slightly. Yeah, a couple of years. Who else do you think? No, Mike is East High, which we'll get to in
They're on the next board.
Okay, Lincoln High. Ken.
Ted's here.
Ted, yes, great. Northeast, who went to Northeast? Loren? And Wes?
And Wes?
Okay, and then of course the Omaha Central, I think the only representative we have is Mark, but a core team of that group. I always thought they were like the Beatles, they were very charismatic. 4 of them,
Those handsome young men.
Yes, now, if we might have half the room stand up that went to Lincoln East. Big stand for Lincoln East. All right, can you believe that? And a shout out for
Color Junior High. Hey, look at all these Color Junior High.
That's just statistically not possible. All right, well, that was our presentation of the history part, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. We went through all the archives, we went down to the State Historical Society. It's been great fun to hold this up. And I hope you especially enjoyed the photo loop, and we'll have that playing all day tomorrow and all day Sunday in the exhibit. Okay.
I'll use this one, that's fine.
Use a karaoke.
Yeah. Before you start playing a song, I'm gonna probably burst into song here, so. All right, well, all of you guys should have a program in front of you, and this is the formal program for the awards. So we're going to try to we're going to move it along, but I do want to recognize a lot of people for different things here. And the first thing I want to do is formally induct the 4 great people that were moving into the Hall of Fame this year. And I've got some special plaques over here for them. So what I'm going to do here, it's fitting that the very first person I want to recognize is the person that made this whole event possible, and that's Rodney M, who we've got so many honors we can honor him for, but he's really responsible mostly for this event. So he's going to get this beautiful Nebraska plaque that says Nebraska Chess Hall of Fame Class of 2023, which was, he was technically at the end of December. I notified all these people by letter that they had been picked. So Rodney. I promise to let each person have a chance to say something.
Well, I've been talking, so let me just say something quick.
Well, you got a microphone.
Is it still working out? Well, just want to thank the people who helped me develop as a chess player. And one, of course, is Loren Schmidt, who was always somebody I looked up to and was always one class above at least, and trying hard to catch up, just like the stories of how it was in Omaha with John Watson. It was the same thing.
You did it.
Well, eventually we got pretty close, but that was, always admired Loren, learned so much from him. Rich chess as well, that end game where you just wore me down when I was really little. I went back and read that whole Reuben Fine endgame book, because of you. And that lineage carries over to the endgame prizes we're having now, because I think endgames are so important. Mark Kitchen, you were my, sparring partner, research buddy. They talked about how the Central guys and all them in Omaha got together all the time. We were always in each other's house, playing with each other. And then really everybody who was in the Lincoln Club, we were all so close. It was such a community. Mike and Kent, and I'm not going to start naming names because I'll leave some out. But it was just a very, very rich environment. So thank you to everybody who was around back then. I forgot to thank my mom who let me travel. Just leave with these guys and wind up in Philadelphia or something like that. If you won some money, go on to New York and all that. So thank you, Mom, for trusting us on that.
All right, I just noticed that one of the plaques is missing, so I'm going to check the trunk of my car. I had so much stuff that I carried up here, but I know it's somewhere because I know we did have it. So they're going to have to excuse me for not having it right here. Oh, there it is. No, okay, cancel that. Never mind. All right, might as well say them right now. We don't usually induct someone that's not very old into the Hall of Fame, meaning that we've got a lot of people that are getting up there and we want to get those people in. But there's a person here that we couldn't really ignore, and that's, he's only the second person in Nebraska history to receive an international master title. And he's present with us tonight, along with some of his family, and that would be International Master Keaton.
Hey.
thank you so much. It's a great honor to be here.
Yeah, it's fine.
Oh, okay. Okay, I guess I'm on the spot. I knew I was going to give some kind of speech tonight, but I wasn't sure this was it. But yeah, it's completely surreal to be here right now. You know, this is wonderful. It's amazing to see so many familiar faces that I haven't seen in 10, 20 years. And yeah, what an incredible event. And the Nebraska chess culture is very special to me because this is how I began my journey. And my journey in chess has meant everything to me in my life. And it started here. And I don't have to preach to many people here how challenging it was, growing up in Nebraska trying to become, a serious professional chess player. For people who are a little bit younger and have the resources that they have with the internet, it might be a little foreign to them, but, definitely you guys here understand that it wasn't, the easiest thing to come up playing in Nebraska with dreams of becoming a world champion like Dr. Alexi Root. I also shared that ambition, and then also, when I got a little bit older, I said, okay, maybe I'll just settle for Grandmaster. And I was close to that, but never made Grandmaster. So I'd just like to share with you guys a little bit about my journey in chess, and then give some acknowledgments. So it started here in Lincoln when my dad taught me how to play. I was 7 years old, and I really loved the game, and was definitely inspired by the Searching for Bobby Fischer movie. And so I really loved chess. I got serious about it. I decided to play a tournament, and just got more and more into it. So my dad got me a chess coach. My first chess coach was Kevin Fleming. Too bad he can't be here today, absolute Nebraska chess legend. But he was my first coach for about a year until he moved. And then my next coach was Tom O'Connor, who's my guest here this evening. And hard to believe that I've known Tom for almost 30 years now, and we're best of friends to this day. And he had such an impact on my chess career. So as I continued to train and to grow as a chess player and play more and more tournaments, some of the things I accomplished along the way, I was a 6-time national scholastic chess champion for my age. I was a 9-time Nebraska state champion, won the Nebraska state close for the first time when I was 14, and then the next 8 years after that. When I was 14, I think that was around when I became chess expert, when I crossed 2,000. And also somewhere around that time, maybe a little before, I started taking chess lessons from a grandmaster, which, at that time wasn't so easy to do, but I had met Grandmaster Miran Shir, who had recently moved from Russia to New York, and he came to Omaha to do a camp. And so I started taking chess lessons with Grandmaster Miran Shir. And the way we did our lessons, probably some of you can actually imagine this. We used the phone, we used a landline, and we used a chessboard. There was no chess.com, no Zoom, no even internet chess club. It was just it was a chessboard and it was a phone. As someone who barely spoke English, but when we talked about chess, we spoke the same language. That's one of the beautiful things about chess, that it's a language in and of itself. So working with Miran, I got much stronger, and I was a pretty strong master by the time I graduated high school at Lincoln East, with so many of you guys here also went to East, and then at that time I went to college at UT Dallas, which also Dr. Alexi Root, and so UT Dallas was one of the main chess universities at that time, and I got a scholarship to go there. Had a wonderful college experience, played on a great college team, grew and developed a lot as a chess player. And then after I graduated, that was close to the time that I made International Master. And I went pretty far as a chess player, two Grandmaster norms, to other performances that really shouldn't have been norms but didn't count for technical reasons like opponents not showing up or playing too many people of the same federation, that kind of thing. My peak USCF, I was close to 2,600. I reached about 2,580. And my FIDE was about 2,450, 2,460 at peak. So I was kind of close to making GM, although that 40 or 50 points I would have needed to hit 2,500, not so easy, not so easy. I would have had to beat Magnus, what, like 4 or 5 times? Not the easiest thing to do. But yeah, so, you know, that all was magical, but I also had to face falling a little bit short of my lifetime goal of becoming a grandmaster. And, you know, when the landscape of chess really got harder, about 5 years ago, when you know, the internet just completely revolutionized chess and so many strong young players coming up. I mean, you guys have probably heard of Hans Niemann. He's made a bit of news in the chess world in the last couple of years. Okay, well, I played him when he was like 2,100. And I was 2,500, and I have to beat him to gain 2 points. So I mean, you can kind of see what I was up against, and my rating, it kind of tanked after that, and I gave up really on my ambitions of trying to make grandmaster. But since the time that I graduated college, I've been a full-time chess instructor, and I've taught chess in the schools and privately. And that's been a truly rewarding and fulfilling path. It's been incredible to have the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of a lot of young people and to coach students to state in national championships and being able to represent the U.S. and the world youth and that kind of thing. So I'm a very, very proud coach with a lot of incredible accomplished students. And also have had a hand in helping a lot of players develop into their full potential and managing chess teams like the San Diego Surfers in the Pro Chess League, and definitely had a hand in helping 2 of my best friends in Southern California become the only 2 young grandmasters to come out of Southern California in Michael Brown and Josh Sheng. So yeah, long story short, it's been an amazing journey, and it all started here, and it's really just beautiful for it to come full circle in this way and to be back here with you guys. I definitely want to give out a few shouts and some acknowledgement. Definitely a few of you guys I really remember battling when I used to play these circuits here in Nebraska, and that really helped to shape me into the chess player that I became. Ken Nelson, my goodness, we had so many battles, a lot of draws. Always such a solid player. So many draws. Bruce, we've had some good ones. I still remember, I think, our first game, I hung my queen against you. Yeah. And then I'd really like to acknowledge my guests this evening. So my parents are here with me. Yeah, Ken and Chris Kira. So thank you guys for all your unwavering support. Never could have, accomplished what I have in chess without you guys and everything that you did for me and your support for me. So thank you so much, and to my longtime coach, Dr. Tom O'Connor. Thank you so much for your commitment to my journey, and to all of you for your help along the way. So thank you so much.
Okay, this is a very special award to me. I've known Kent since probably like 1974, 75, something like that. And we finally got him into the Hall of Fame this year. So no doubt about it, this man deserves it.
better write down, organize my thoughts, otherwise I might get in trouble.
Too late for that.
First of all, I wanted to say that this is quite an honor and privilege to stand before you this evening and be inducted into the Nebraska Chess Hall of Fame. So thank you for that. There's several individuals I would like to recognize and thank. First of all, I'd like to thank my daughter Kaylee for being here. And in addition to Kaylee, my friend Gary Colvin is here. And to spell Gary's last name, and let's do this together, Gary, it's C-O-L, V as in Victor, I-N, yes. We rehearsed that. I also wanted to thank my friend Richard Perry and his lovely wife Janet for driving up from Texas to be with us this evening. So thanks for being here. Bruce Rainey, please stand. Oh, okay. Since coming out of retirement, Bruce, Bruce has spent countless hours of his own time and money making this banquet and this weekend's upcoming chess tournament possible. Let's take this opportunity to give Bruce a hand and thank him for all his efforts. In addition to Bruce, I would like to ask Rod Melbert and Craig Wilkins to stand also. Craig? Thanks to these gentlemen for their very generous financial support. And because of you, you've made this event possible and will be remembered as a once-in-a-lifetime event. So thank you all for that. I'd also like to have special recognition and much appreciation and thanks goes to members of the Nebraska Chess Hall of Fame nomination committee. The committee members are Loren Schmidt. Loren, thank you. And John Drexel. John, thank you. And also Richard Gardner. I don't think Richard's here. Okay. Anyway, just wanted to let you know that I'm very, very grateful and thankful for selecting yours truly, along with other inductees, of course, Alexi Root, Rod Melbert, Keaton Kirill, and to this year's Nebraska Chess Hall of Fame. On a personal note, I was inspired to learn chess during the Fischer-Spassky match. I'm sure many of us were part of that Fischer boom. Yeah. Raise your hand if you were part of that boom, Fischer boom. Yeah. Actually, I wanted Spassky to win. Bobby didn't impress me that much. And for years, during the beginning of my chess playing career, I was just interested in being a player. But that started to all change in my late 30s when I was having high blood pressure issues during the course of the chess games. So I'm sure most of you agree that I offered a lot of draws. And now you know the reason why, So, but because of this, it prompted me to split my time between playing chess and editing the Gambit, Nebraska Chess newsletter. And I've enjoyed being the editor of the Gambit, and I appreciate the positive feedback that I've received from the Nebraska chess community for editing the Gambit, so I thank you all for that. I've also written some books about local players, Anton Silmans, and Anton, I'm sure most of us will remember Anton. He was quite a character, And if you're interested in a PDF copy of the Anton book, just please let me know, and we'll make it happen for you. And also, I just got done writing a book about perhaps one of the greatest state champions of Nebraska's history. His name was Howard Oman. And I got a collection of his chess articles. He wrote 7 years worth of chess articles that appeared every week in the Omaha World Herald, the sports section. And so I spent a lot of time down at the State Historical Society doing research. And I was able to put together a book, but the book had some serious makeup issues. And so I wanted to take this opportunity to thank Jim Wella and his wife Julie Thompson for editing and reformatting this book. And speaking of this book, I'd like to hand out some books to the various committee members and organizers and financial supporters of this event. But I would like to talk to you a little bit about my friend Gary Coleman, who this book is dedicated to. Gary and I met at the old Ben Martin Library in Lincoln. Remember those? Met on Wednesday nights, I believe, Gary. Yeah. And this was back in 1973. And since then, Gary has been a true and loyal friend during good times and bad. Gary has also directed a number of Nebraska tournaments, and he won the 1989 Nebraska State Chess Championship, closed championship over Kevin Fleming, by tiebreak. Gary has also served as past president of the Lincoln Chess Foundation and also the Nebraska State Chess Association, the NSCA. So Gary, special thanks for all you've done for me and for Nebraska chess. I'd like to show you the dedication page of this book of mine. It took about 10 years to write, and I'm real proud of it. So it's right here. The dedication page of Gary's right here. So anyway, that pretty much wraps it up. I do appreciate the opportunity to be with you this evening, and thank you for the great honor that you bestowed on me.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right,
Final.
hello?
It's on.
Oh, all right. The last inductee for this year is Alexei Rudolph Root, who flew all the way up here from Dallas to be with us. So I'll let you speak for a moment here.
All right.
Well, Keaton and I have a lot in common, and one of the things is my dad taught me how to play when I was 5. So, and he let me win for 4 years. This was very important to me because I liked winning. But then at age 9, I asked him to play for real, and he did. And he was not a tournament player. He didn't know en passant, for example. So I was able to defeat him when I was about 9 and a half, and he took me to Lincoln Chess Club in the basement of Bennett Martin Library. So the first day I walked in, or first evening I walked into Lincoln Chess Club, Gary Marks was showing Rodney and Angel Needfeld the 2-rook mate. And I walked over and I played the right move, and Gary was amazed. And said, "Oh, that's so good. You should play in a chess tournament." And at that time, I kept a diary, and I wrote in my diary, "I'm going to play in a chess tournament." So from that very first night at Lincoln Chess Club, my fate was sealed. So I did start playing in chess tournaments, and they used to have underage 13 sections at the chess tournament, and the prize structure was first overall, got a trophy, and the top girl got a trophy. So I would win first overall, and Angel would win the top girl trophy. She was actually the only other girl playing, but she was really important to me, and I wish, she's not here, did she make it? I really wish she would have been here, because I think one of the reasons I stayed in chess was because there was one other little girl playing, and a lot of little boys. Not as many as today, but still, it seemed like a lot. Anyway, tournament after tournament, the boys didn't get any trophies, but finally the boys' parents complained, and so there was a new prize structure of first overall, top boy, and top girl. So I made that change, and so about 8 months after I started going to Lincoln Chess Club, I was lucky enough to have Loren Schmidt become my chess teacher. So we would have the lesson at Loren's house, and then Don Baker would pick us up and take us to Lincoln Chess Club, and that was wonderful and amazing. And at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, they held a tournament with an elementary division, which I guess these days they just call it the Elementary State Championship. And so I was 5-0 going into the last round. I won my first 5 games. I'm playing in round 6 against Sean Orm, and in those days, coaches were allowed in the playing hall, and I was way ahead in the game, like bishops and knights ahead, and I remember smiling up at Loren, like, look at my game. I'm doing so well. And then the very next move, I was back rank checkmated by Sean Orm, and so I was Nebraska Elementary co-champion, and I always wondered what happened to Sean Orman in the weeks leading up to this event. I mentioned that to Rodney M, and he said, oh, Sean Orm became a law partner at one of the law firms I was at. So it is truly a small world, and Keaton's already mentioned this, but one of the other delightful small world aspects of this is I've been at the University of Texas at Dallas as a lecturer since the fall of 1999, and Keaton was a student there at UT Dallas, and it was a real thrill to see him there, and I also very much enjoyed teaching at a chess camp that his dad, Dr. Kirill, organized. So it was nice to have that connection, and I don't want to leave out my other fellow inductee, Kent Nelson. When I saw your daughter, I'm like, you have the same hair that Kent. So, Kent, I just remember, I wish I had kept when I moved away from Lincoln in the summer of '76, I had an autograph book and everyone signed it, and you signed it with something like, you're gonna go far, sweetie. And I wish I'd kept the book, but I remember that you signed it so graciously. And it's been a real privilege to be from Lincoln, Nebraska. I was born here, lived here for my first 11 years. I can't imagine a better place to have started my chess career, and I should be giving you all an award because it means a lot to me to be from Nebraska, but thank you for this award, and I will treasure it.
So how we go? Maybe it matters.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay. I have 2 additional Hall of Fame plaques to give out because these people never got one. They were inducted, and for one reason or another, they weren't able to come to Nebraska, and so I just want to recognize Loren Schmidt, who was the class of '97.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then also Rich Chess, who, I didn't know the exact year, so I didn't put it on there. But I think it was 2001, but I'm not positive. So I just let the year off, so I know you were there though. So.
He's on the big
All right.
butt.
We're gonna move this along here. I wanted to take a minute to recognize Jerry Sleminski, who was able to represent us last year at the Irwin tournament. And Jerry, you did quite well considering how strong that tournament was. So the Irwin is open to seniors, and so Jerry is with us tonight, and he was able to, here's his brother.
Hey, first thing, how about a standing ovation for this guy here, Rodney M. He put this on. Can I introduce my twin brother? He was a senior champion. He drove 650 miles to Grand Rapids. Okay, he beat 1811, he beat in 1957, he drew in 2179. Not bad for 65. Jerry, come on up for 2 minutes. Come on up, Jerry.
I'm shy.
All right. Okay, I've got some more awards to give here, and I'm going to let Rodney present the next awards, because these are for patrons. No, that's Loren's doing it. Loren, you want to come up and offer the patron awards?
I thought that was the case.
Yeah, it's wrong on the program, so.
Clearly, the reason that I'm up here to present the patron awards is because the patron awards are to people like Rod Malpert. We'll get all up or what? What's the plan? There you go. Thank you, Rod. This is an amazing event. When you first broached it to me, I thought, oh, that's not going to happen. But I'll take part in it. But you and the next person here, Bruce Draney, these guys made it happen. I was a skeptic, but they made me a believer, and thank you both for all the hard work that you guys put into this, and are still putting in for the next few days after this.
And 2 more.
Yes. And this one, yes. The other, what's the official tier?
This is the platinum.
Platinum Award, the Platinum Patron Award, to my former team captain, Craig Wilkins. We played in a correspondence website called Game Knot, and he organized a Nebraska team, and he's the one who got me into playing correspondence chess. Because he invited me to play for his Nebraska team for that. Yes. Last but not least, the other platinum patron, Kent Nelson. Another gentleman I've known him, I thought well of for many, many years. Keep it up.
Rod.
So thank you all.
Get the journalism awards. You can do the journalism. You don't want to do it? Well, okay, I can, but, all right, let me.
Something's going to happen now, but I don't know what it is.
All right.
Bruce is going to do some karaoke, I believe.
All right. One for me.
If I were a D player, ba 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 ba. He cut me off. Those are the chess songs we used to sing when we played Blitz chess at the Lincoln Club.
You want chess?
We got our awards straight.
They cut me off, man.
Mike side?
Yeah, probably.
Oh, okay.
All right, we have Chess Journalism Awards. And that's, oh, I left it over there. I'll just have to
Speak loud.
speak loudly. But even the concept of having a journalism award is kind of surprising, right? Why would we have journalists here so prominent? But we have quite a tradition going back to newsletters coming out of Omaha, mid-century, to all the way up to today. And there's so many here, Bruce.
Yeah, I know.
Why don't I give yours away so we have enough hands? So we have one for Bruce. Now, Bruce has been quite the historian. And you go to the archives here in Lincoln, and they recognize it. Oh, thank you. Thank you. So, Bruce, really appreciate all the research that you've done. When we were preparing all of this, I mean, you know every name and every little tidbit. So thank you for all the work that you've put in for journalism in Nebraska.
By the way, these are called the Jack Spence Excellence in Chess Journalism Award because Jack Spence was the gold standard for chess journalism. So I named the awards after him, so it's quite an honor to get an award named after him.
Oh, these are beautiful, by the way.
Yeah,
I'll get that. Well, so this one goes to our Chess Life editor that I mentioned, and I can't emphasize more of it. We have the editor of Chess Life living in Omaha. So, John Hartman.
John.
They said I could have 2 or 3 minutes, and I'm absolutely going to take them. It won't surprise any of you who know me. Can you hear me decently? Okay, let me take my glasses off, because I'm at that certain age where the regular glasses don't work for the, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's very strange to get an award for your job. Like, this is my job, this is what I do. I make chess magazines. Although really when I think about it, like I've been Chess Life editor now for 4 years. That included the pandemic. So it turns out like 4 magazine years are like 80 human years. So thank you. The thing about chess journalism is that it is like so much else in chess. It is the people behind the scenes who you don't know about who make it possible. The people who come to the tournaments or read the magazine, they don't see the work that goes into making chess happen. So the tournament director's in the room, Mike Gooch, who someday will, yeah, please. Mike Gooch, who someday will be inducted into this Hall of Fame for everything he's done for Nebraska chess. And it may surprise Mike to hear me say that, but I mean it with all my heart. The directors in this room who are not Mike Gooch. Mike Mills. Steve Cusimano was not here, but I saw his name badge out there. Tony Dutiel, who is going to be our creative director this weekend. John Linscott. Chris Etheridge, who's in the back who I just met and is taking his first steps in directing in Nebraska. Thank you, because we need people like you to do this.
Yep.
The games in the magazine that you see, or the games in the Gambit, they don't get put into the computer by accident. So J.J. Lang, thank you. Nick McCroy, who's not here, thank you. Gambit editor Bruce Draney, thank you for doing all the work that you're doing right now. I know how hard it is, and I get paid for it, and you don't, so you're better than me, is what I'm trying to do. Most of all, Ken Nelson.
There you go.
There is no one, and I mean, all the people who are inducted tonight, you deserve it. No one in this room deserves induction more than Ken Nelson. Ken Nelson has done more for Nebraska chess than the rest of us combined. And I can't think of a better person to be inducted, a better human being. It's an honor knowing you, and it's an honor being here tonight, so thank you. I'm going to finish by 2 or 3 minutes now. I do want to say, we've heard a lot about the past tonight. Some of the future is here too. Abhinav Suresh, who is not here, who is our U.S. chess delegate, he's going to do big things in chess. Watch for a piece by him in Chess Life in July. I think you'll enjoy it, and for those of you who know him, you'll read it and think, yeah, that's Abba. We've got some young players in the room. Luke, stand up, Luke. Luke has beaten me more than he should. I don't like him. But Luke is the future of Nebraska chess. Rakshith, who is, his family is here, or they were here. Rakshith, who beat me the other night, the little punk. He's the future of Nebraska chess. There's a young man back there who was here, I don't know where he is now, who's our, I think, K5 champion. That's the future of Nebraska chess. So from the past to the future, the one thing that is always behind this is the people you don't see. So thank you to the parents, thank you to Allie, and thank you to Sitharaman. Thank you to the mentors. John Watson, thank you. You've meant more to me than I can tell you. And to have a mentor in my life like you, I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. It was you inspired me to do this. So thank you. I know it's your fault, but thank you. It's you know what you mean. So thank you for this award. I'm going to be quiet now, but thank you.
I just met John for the first time a couple months ago and went to lunch. It's a fascinating how much John knows about chess history and even Nebraska chess history before he was born, and the history of everything else. I couldn't bring up a name that I had experienced in real life that he didn't know about just from his own research. So a lot of fun, John. I would appreciate that wealth of knowledge that you have. And John's colleague, J.J. Lang, who is a digital editor for Chess Life. John, we met about a year ago, and it's been a lot of fun analyzing with you and talking. John's been one of these philosophy PhD students. If you've heard that all night, there's so many philosophers in this room, and I think there's no accident to that. It goes well with that kind of inquisitive, rigorous mind that makes a good journalist. So we're thrilled that you're in Nebraska as well, JJ. It's just amazing to have that 1-2 punch here. So we have this award for you. Well, we have two more.
Two more, okay, good.
And,
secret ones?
Yes, and John said a lot about Ken Nelson. And yeah, Ken, thank you. I can remember when you just folded Gambits, when Loren's publishing them over at his house, and then you wind up taking over the Gambit and so many other things. It's fun to go back and read the interviews you've done. I read the one you did with John Stepp just the other day. And you really have brought to life the figures, and of course writing a book about Anton, who everybody can tell is so dear to us. And you really kept it all alive for us at the heart level in the way that you've done these things. So thank you so very much, Ken. And Alexei, as a professor, rigorous kinds of books, and you've written 8 of them? That's amazing, 8 books. A book is a hard thing to write. And so, we're just thrilled that you add this to the great wealth of literature that's come out of Nebraska. And remember traveling around with you with Gary Marks and tournaments. You'd fall asleep in the back seat, exhausted, from these long tournaments and everything. And I'm just trying to think back then what we would have thought if we learned that you were going to become a writer of 8 chess books at university, U.S. women's champion and all of that. So, I mean, everybody's just so proud and happy for you. So, here's your journalism award.
Even though we're running a little late, to tell one quick story, and this might be a transition from player to author story. I was playing in a tournament in Frank and Jim Berry tournament in Oklahoma City, and Grandmaster Alexander Shavala was in the tournament, and he had been watching some of my games, and after the last round, he says, "Can I look at your book?" And I was like, "A Grandmaster wants to look at my scorebook. He likes my games so much, he wants to see them in my scorebook." And so I was getting the scorebook out to give to him, and he's like, no, I want to look at your book, Children in Chess, A Guide for Educators, which was my first book, and it had just come out, and he was gracious enough to buy a copy of it. But that sort of marks a transition for me. He wasn't interested in my games, but he did want to buy my book. And I have written 8 books. Thank you for this opportunity.
No. Oh, we can do it. Okay. All right. We're going to, if you turn to the back of your program, these are some of the people that shaped the 70s, especially, that are no longer with us, at least not physically. They were with us in spirit and memory. And so we were going to do
you got to give them lights for this, just a bit.
For all these different people that are on the back of this program. And so we're going to run through these pretty quickly. So if you've got more than one, because we had to double up or triple up on some of them, we'll just have you read all of them that you've got. So whoever has Jack Spence, I think that's actually John. John, are you there?
Yeah, greetings from Michigan. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
More or less. Okay. I got 4 to go through quickly here. I will. Chuck Hilburn took over directing tournaments at the YMCA after Jack Spence died in the late 70s. Later, the club moved to Social Settlement in South Omaha, and Chuck ran the club there also. He directed a few Midwest Opens, and he was a Vietnam veteran. Thanks, Chuck, for your service to our country and the Omaha chess community. Next up is Marvin Katz. Marvin was a regular at the Omaha Chess Tournament for many years. He played at the YMCA and then later at the Omaha Library. I remember him being a strong A player. Perhaps he was an expert before I knew him. After winning a game, he would sometimes say, "Cats eat fish." He was also one of the best checker players in the state. He may have won a state championship. I know he played in a bunch of tournaments. I followed the checker scene because the guy who was best man at my parents' wedding is a long-time checker player in Omaha. Next up is Arnold Friend. Arnie played a lot at the YMCA and then the Omaha Library tournaments. He would often sign his score sheet, "A friend," and then he would say, "Now you can say you played a friend." One time I was playing him at the Y, and our game was very boring. I asked him if he wanted to draw. He said, "What, are you hungry?" I said, "No, this game is boring." He replied, "You're right, this game is boring," and he accepted the draw. So, then I got my last one is on Jack Spence. I only knew Jack for 5 years, from 73 when I started playing to his death in 78. He was the only TD in Omaha at the time, and he served us well. He was always kind and gentle to me. I remember him explaining to me what a pie was in my first rated tournament. Then when I was 17 years old, I was playing in the Omaha Open. I had a 4-0 record after 4 rounds. Jack pulled me aside and told me that I had a chance to do something very special. I should take my time and focus on the last round game. I did focus, and that was my first open tournament win with a 5-0 score, and it pushed my rating over 1,800. I really appreciated that Jack did that for me. I ran into Jack by chance about a month before he died at a grocery store. He did not look well. He regretted not going to the doctor for many years and ignoring heart issues. Thanks, Jack, for many years of service to Nebraska chess. Now I want to brag for a minute. My greatest chess accomplishment is holding Keaton Kirill to a draw. I try not to remember that he was 12 years old at the time. Anyway, thanks for inviting me long distance. I wish I could be there, but I couldn't. But it's great to be here, and I want to say hi to my longtime friend Craig Wilkins and his lovely wife Shelley. And Omaha South High had some good chess players too, with the Chess Brothers and me and Craig. So me and Craig came after the Chess Brothers a few years, but they were our heroes. So that's all I got from Michigan. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Next we have whoever has Alex Leibniz. I believe that's Loren. You want the microphone, Loren?
Either way.
You can do all the people that you've got.
Right. I've got 3, and I'm going to do them in the order that I met them, which is not Alex first. Number 1, right at the start, is Randall J. Smith. For those of you who knew Randall, he was the pride of Hebron, Nebraska. He was tall and slim and elegant. He coached football and track and taught Spanish and advanced mathematics at the high school. And after he passed, they renamed the track after him at the school. He was pretty much always a 1600 player, maybe got to the 1700s and such, but he was always at tournaments. He was always a gentleman, but he really didn't take any nonsense. I'm not going to go into those stories about that, but but he was a very serious person. And I saw a few clips online from his old students talking about him after he passed. He was beloved at the school and brought kids around for the state tournaments and such like that. Definitely one of the great people from that era. And he beat me the first game we played. It was my second tournament.
That's something I never did.
Sorry. The second one I have is B. Frank Watson. Does anyone know what the B stands for? You can guess for the moment. It's Benjamin Franklin Watson. But when he was in the military in World War I, as an officer, he really got tired of people making fun of his name, and so he started going by Frank. And so by the time I knew him, he was B. Frank, and it took a while before he finally told me what his real name was. What's the B stand for? He was another one of those gentlemen, always in a suit with a perfect mustache, and he is the person who created the Lincoln Chess Foundation. He was from Lincoln High and then UNL, but he went to Yale and got a law degree from Yale and an accounting degree and became that most dreaded of all things, a tax lawyer. But that inspired him, since he knew all about 501c3s, to wonder in the 1950s, why isn't there a chess foundation on a 501c3? He was the first person in the country to create a 501c3, and that's where the money was funneled through for all of those big events in Lincoln in the 1960s and 70s. He was also a key member of the Lincoln Chess Foundation, and he, I found out that that's why we were meeting always at the VFW, because he was a World War I vet. He passed in 1993 at the age of 94. So lived a long, good life and was a wonderful man with lots of anecdotes. And my last one is the one that they named first, which is Alex. Alex Liebnix was sort of special to me. As much as I had a chess teacher, it was Alex. He didn't actually teach me, but he saw me playing in a tournament, and I sacrificed a rook and then a bishop, and ended up a game with a 7-move forced mate. And after the tournament got over, Alex comes over and says, "You want to come over and play Blitz chess with me on Saturday? Oh, how about Sunday?" I just found out from tonight, I'd forgotten this, that Ted Herman lived in the same neighborhood as Alex, and Alex used to invite him over to play as well. So he didn't actually, in my case, teach me anything when we played Blitz chess. And then when I was playing in like Lincoln City Championships and stuff, I'd bring my games over and we'd analyze them. And he's responsible for a lot of the offbeat openings I played during my Gambit period, Black Redeemers and Latvian Gambits and all this, because he wrote books on those things as a true Latvian. And inspired Pooples, who, another great Nebraska player from that era, who beat Bobby Fischer notoriously with the Latvian Gambit. So those are my three.
Okay, thank you, Loren.
Oh, I totally forgot. Alex, I gotta say, yeah, he was at the, had a close relationship with Bobby Fischer. Fischer was here for the U.S. Junior Open in the 1950s, and then Alex served as one of the translators at the Reykjavik match. And eventually, after Alex passed, Bobby Fischer came to his funeral.
He stayed with Fisher when Fisher was 15 or 12.
Yeah, Fisher was 12.
Yeah, Fisher was only 12 years old, and his mother didn't want him to go to Lincoln by himself. So she actually called Alex and asked him if he could take care of Bobby while he was playing in the tournament. So Fisher actually stayed at Alex's house, which is kind of a cool story. All right, the next one is Gary Marks, and got Alexi to say something about Gary.
So, as I already mentioned, Gary Marks ran underage 13 tournaments, not just in Lincoln, but all over Nebraska. I didn't realize I was always falling asleep in the car, but Gary would drive us all over Nebraska to these tournaments he ran. The entry fee was $2, which is $11.61 in today's money. But I recorded in my diary that one time when I won a trophy, he also handed me 50 cents. So that's like a $2.90 tip. So I don't think he was making much money if he was driving us all over and very low entry fees and then slipping me money when I won trophies. So he was just so generous in so many ways with his time and his effort. And of course, everyone remembers his polar bear tournament where it was in winter, but he wore shorts all year, and so it was no big deal for him, but I think he got like a free entry if you also wore shorts. So, oh, $2 back, okay. I didn't wear shorts to the, winter tournament, so I didn't benefit from that, but I love the trophies that he gave out. I have, at this point, donated all my trophies, but really the one that I wish I hadn't was I won the Class D section of a tournament he held outside, and it had a bunny rabbit on the trophy, and that was really special, and I miss Gary and very much, and I was very privileged when the one time I taught at Brownell Talbot Camp, Shay Marks, his son, was one of my students, and I got to see Gary, and it's a really full circle moment for me.
Yeah, thank you.
Next is Dan Reynolds.
Sure. Well, Dan Reynolds was Nebraska state champion twice in the 1970s, and he was also the Iowa state champion. So I don't know how much you remember of those years when he was in Iowa. He was the first person I played in a tournament game. very first Friday night, and lost badly on the bad side of the closest silly. And I remember him telling me that I needed to push my queenside pawns and get some kind of counterattack. And he unfortunately passed really early at age 42. But I just remember him as a very distinguished gentleman, and I looked up some things about him, and I guess he was a finance executive, and just a really classy guy. But we lost him way too early.
Is that the only one you had, Ron?
Yes.
Okay.
Next is Mike Chess.
Hi, as you all know, Mike, my brother. He was, you've heard all his accomplishments. He was a high school state champion in 1972. You heard all his accomplishments in college. And he was our star, I would say. And year we won, he went 7.5 out of 8. And the one draw he had was with Harvard. And he had a winning position there, but he lost one tempo in a Bishop's opposite colors in game and ended up drawing it. But he could have been a master if he wanted to. He had a lot of other interests. If he'd put the time and energy in it, he could easily become a master, I think. He was, he had a lot, like I say, a lot of interests, weightlifting, football, track. He actually got high ranking in heavyweight arm wrestling. And he was, we were best friends. He was my rock, and he's greatly missed. Next I have David Ackerman, and I would like to read this article about him. My first, he was one of the many fine active players. He was an expert rated player for over 20 years. He won several tournaments between 1952 and 1970. In addition to playing prowess, he is an accomplished chess instructor, having held classes at the YMCA and hobby runner shows on many occasions. He also enjoyed doing simultaneous exhibitions sponsored by Charlie Graham. And anyone that wanted to get against him would get a choice of books they had there. I was fortunate to get a couple of those, and that's how I got my library started. I went to David's house several times, and he was a really good guy.
Next is, I'm going to do Mark Scheides and Bennett Martin and Richard Olson and Bob Grande. I'll go through these pretty quick. I rehearsed them, made sure that they were under the time limit. The first one is Abe Bennett Martin. Abe Bennett Martin was a prominent Lincoln politician, businessman, and philanthropist who donated to many worthy causes throughout the city, including the Lincoln Children's Zoo, the Lincoln Public Libraries, the downtown branch on 14th Street still bears his name, and of course the chess. In 1969, he agreed to host the U.S. Open at his hotel on this very site, what was then called the Lincoln Hotel, which was torn down in 1973 or so, I think it was 73 or 74. And it was replaced by the Hilton, which is now what this building is, really. So he was the owner of the original hotel where the 1969 U.S. Open was held. Throughout the early 70s, the Lincoln Chess Club met inside the Bennett Martin Library. He was a major promoter and benefactor of Lincoln and Nebraska chess. Second one is Mark Scheides. Mark Scheides grew up in Minden, Nebraska, and after graduating from high school, he attended UNL. I first met Mark at one of Gary Marx's aforementioned polar bears. We used to have him on campus down at the UMHE building. I don't think that's even there anymore. And we became friends and chess competitors. And I kind of lost track of Mark, but he eventually got married and moved to Colorado and started his own law practice. And Mark eventually reached the high expert level. I think he was over 2100. Yeah. And I ran into him when we both played in Nebraska Land Days in North Platte, and we had the opportunity to reminisce about the 70s in Nebraska chess. Richard Olson. Richard Olson of Clarks, Nebraska, was one of Central Nebraska's greatest tournament organization directors. He ran the Merritt County Open from 1979 until his untimely death in 2011. His tournaments drew players from all over the state, and he offered low entry fees, unique trophies, and fun and friendly events. Richard was a steeplejack and invited my son and I to his home one time after the Merritt County tournament ended. For many years, Richard's event in tiny Clarks, Nebraska, was the longest consecutive running open event in the state except for the Midwest Open on the Paul River. Bob Grande. This was supplied by his son Doug, who couldn't be here. Bob grew up on the East Coast in Massachusetts and later Maine, where he learned to play chess. He liked correspondence chess and played many postal games. In the early 1950s, Bob joined the U.S. Air Force, and when he was stationed in Leavenworth, Kansas, he traveled to a chess tournament in Omaha where he met Jack Spence. After 4 years in the military, Bob was ready to leave the service when the recruiter asked him what he planned to do. Bob replied he'd like to be a chess bum. The recruiter convinced him he could stay in the Air Force and be a chess bum, and so Bob stayed in the Air Force. In the late 1950s, he was stationed in Washington, D.C., where he played and beat Hans Berliner, an international master and later world correspondence champion. Between 1960 and 1970, Bob returned to Omaha and played in the 1969 U.S. Open on this site in Lincoln. After a 4-year stint in Japan, he returned to Omaha where he won the city championship 2 times and reached a rating of 2198. So we went ahead and called him a master. I mean, if you're 2 points away, you're a master. We don't care. All right. Next is, let's see, David S.
Thank you, Bruce. I met David in high school. He was on the Lincoln High chess team, along with Steve Jabrushkin, myself, and Carl Narveson, son of Bud Narveson. David was a fast player, and he was very, very tactical. He also, after high school, wanted to train to be a Catholic priest, so he went to seminary school, and that didn't work out for him. So what he ended up doing is when he returned from seminary school, he started dating a woman who dropped out of nunnery school. And they got married. I was in attendance to their wedding. And they adopted a bunch of kids from foreign countries. David worked all his life at a grocery store, an IGA store, close to 27th and A Street here in Lincoln. And he was in charge of the produce department. David ended up dying way before his time due to cancer. And I remember going to his funeral, and it was one of the saddest things and most upsetting things that I've experienced, like ever, because, you know, his adopted kids were pretty young, you know, and they were dealt a crushing blow. So, but David, looking back, I think would have absolutely thrived on these fast time controls because he was a fast player, you know. Thank you.
Let's see here. Charlie Graham.
You got 2 people,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, I do. Okay, we're starting off with Charlie Graham, who's actually been mentioned once tonight. What I've got written down here, Charlie Graham was a, this is hard for you. He was a big part of Nebraska chess back in the 70s. Charlie owned a Buick dealership in downtown Omaha. People who know how many tournaments Charlie monetarily supported, but I said that wrong. People don't know how many tournaments Charlie actually did support monetarily, and he sponsored a lot of things. He was good friends with Jack Spence, as well as a lot of other well-known Nebraskans, such as Tom Osborne, Bob Devaney, and Warren Buffett. I got that information from his son. I didn't even know that at the time. Charlie supported scholastic chess in a big way. When I was in high school, a group of us got together, Craig Wilkins, John Drexel, a couple other guys from South High, I don't remember who, and myself went and got this brilliant idea to copy what they did over at Council Bluffs to raise money to go to the National High School Tournament. And so we put on a chess marathon. We went to Charlie Graham and talked him into it. He let us put this marathon on in his beauty dealership. So we did that, and we raised money to do that. And at the very end, after going, 75 hours nonstop, Charlie came to us and said, well, did you meet your monetary goal? No, we're about $200 short. So he kicked in the 200, and so we were able to do that. Then after that, got back and I went to Charlie Graham and said, you know, I need a job. And so he said, okay, we'll put you to work in our parts department. Now, I would go and clock in at the parts department, and theoretically I was working in the parts department. But no, Charlie Graham would know when I showed up. He would call down to the parts department. He would say, come on up to my office, let's play chess. So I would go and play chess all afternoon with Charlie on many afternoons, and we would play for money. Now, Charlie never won, but he didn't care. So he basically supported my chess habit during my high school years, because I won a lot of money from him playing chess. At the time we were doing that, there was an occasion where I brought up, hey, let's do a top 10 invitational tournament for all the top-rated players in Omaha. So he said, okay, great, we did that. Got together with Jack, he organized it. We invited the 10 top-rated players. Rich Chess was part of that group. There were some others. Mike Blankenau, Mark Seitzer. Mark Seitzer played. He did 2 of those tournaments. I am not even going to mention how the first one turned out for me. It's irrelevant. The second one was okay. But we did those 2 years in a row, and so that's why this is emotional for me. So anyway, that was Charlie Graham. He's a very good guy. Go to somebody else here. Okay, Delmar Saxton. Delmar Saxton was born in 1908, died in 1979. I did not know when he had died, but that's when he died. Delmar Saxton had won Nebraska state championship titles in 1941 and 43. He won in 41, putting an end to Howard Oman's long streak of winning Nebraska state chess championships. He also won the Omaha City Championship in 1939, 1942, and 1946, as well as he was a CCLA Grand National Champion in 1937. Delmar is currently a member of the Nebraska State the Chess Hall of Fame. It seems that I ended up playing Delmar almost every month in one of Jack's tornado tournaments. And I could not get away from that guy. He was a very tough player. I ultimately ended up with a plus score against him, but he made me earn every point I ever got off the guy. So, but one of the things I do remember about Delmar and other people who played him may or may not remember this, Delmar liked to smoke unfiltered Camel cigarettes.
Oh, yeah.
And he'd sit there at the table playing, and, you know, and the little pieces of tobacco would end up on your board. And I would ask him, please don't do that. Finally, I decided, okay, enough is enough. And in one tournament, when he was doing this, I ended up, my move, tobacco on the board, I'm going, adjust. Adjust. I'm flicking the tobacco back at him. And he finally got the message, and at least he started to turn his head away whenever we would exhale. So that's basically my best remembrance of Del Mar, other than the fact that he was a very tough competitor. And I guess I can relate more to Del Mar now than I could then, because now I'm in the same age range that he was when I was playing him when I was a kid 50 years ago. So anyway, that's my 2 names.
Thank you, Chris. Let's see.
That's good.
Richard McClellan, did anybody take Richard? I'm going to take him if nobody else did. Richard McClellan was an English professor. He was also a really strong player. And John Watson, we were just talking about a story involving him and Richard tying for the state title in the Midwest Open in 1972. And John was listed as Colorado, and so Richard just picked up the trophy and just walked out. So that's one of the reasons why we gave John the honorary title of being a Nebraska champion, because he really was a Nebraskan, but he didn't get the trophy because Richard. But John just told us earlier that he was happy for Richard because Richard deserved it too. So we actually had a 4-way tie that year between a guy named Bob Asher from Colorado, John Watson, who's with us tonight, Richard McClellan, who I just mentioned, and also Roger Anderson, who's actually still alive. He never gets mentioned of the 4 people, but he was actually tied with the other 3. So, but anyway, Richard was a really nice guy, and I happened to actually pull over to his house and meet him and his wife before he passed away. And after he died, his wife donated all his chess stuff to Benson High, to where I was teaching, because she remembered that I'd come and talk to her. And we inducted Richard into the Hall of Fame before he passed away. I think it was 97. He was in our 2nd class of people, so Richard was a great person. Next we have Wayne Presnell, and I've got his son here.
We'll bring him to the mic. Let him sit here. Bring him to the mic.
Well, I guess everybody can hear me. Well, I just want to look around. How many people here made it out to North Platte, Nebraska to play the Nebraska Platte Chess Station? Good number of people. Thank you very much for coming out. As you know, my dad was Wayne Presnell, and just a little step back. He learned to play chess in Beatrice, Nebraska by running the movie theater, and so we had to pass the time while the movie's running. His buddy taught him to play chess. So it's interesting talking to people here, because I think you have a much more of a story of playing him and his proclivities as a chess player. For some reason, he was very fond of the center counter opening. I'm not sure why, but it was what he wanted to do. But at the core, he was a teacher. He taught high school science and math and chemistry for most of his adult lives, and he brought chess to North Platte, Nebraska. So we had the Nebraska Land Chess Days opening. We actually, I believe, if I'm correct here, won 2nd place in the Scholastic Team Championship like 2 or 3 times a year. I can't remember if they won, we got 3rd place or something like that. But we definitely, I played on those teams, and I was just talking to people here around. One of the things when you're kind of in a rural setting and you're a little away from the center of these urban areas is you travel. And you go, you play your tournament, and then you drive back home. Well, sometimes that drive was not always smooth. And so you ran into thunderstorms, you're rehashing your latest games by going through
Back then, we didn't have tornado warnings, you know, we didn't have radar, we just like, whoa, there's something coming up, and we, we're good. But he was a man, he drove right through the storm. And so, some of those travels were adventuresome. But yeah, you know, I had an opportunity to be with my dad when he passed away. His last words, "It was a good life," and I hope we can all say that.
Incidentally, Wayne won the state championship in 1995. The state closed, and then we had to host it in North Platte the next year, and we had a snowstorm on the Saturday morning. So that was intriguing. All right, the very last person on this list, I'm sorry the program's gone a little bit longer, but this was the last person. Okay.
John wants to say something about it.
Oh, John?
Go ahead.
Oh, Mike Gooch? We weren't able to get, we do? Oh, okay, Mike, you want to help?
In my ear, I will speak for
Anton Silver.
I wish to speak for Anton Stillman. As long as you know who it is.
Yeah, we all know.
Anton.
Yeah.
Anton.
My first impression,
No, go ahead.
my first impression
Of Anton.
When I read the Martin Library, 1932.
At Benton Martin Library in 1972. He was already a state champion.
He was a mysterious person.
He was a
Mysterious.
I'm sorry, he was a mysterious person.
Because everybody stood up to him.
Because everybody looked up to him.
Besides Donovan,
And Alexander Leibniz.
I met Lionel Murphy.
I met Rod Malpert.
At my first opponent of the time.
Rod Malpert was my very first opponent. Very first opponent.
My older brother Larry was with me.
My older brother Larry was with me.
I was very green.
I was very
green.
Oh, green.
Green, I did not know nothing about it. So I looked up to my brother Larry.
I didn't know very much about it. I looked up to my brother.
He spoke favorably of Anton.
He spoke
Favorably.
very favorably of Anton because he was later. He was the coach. Oh, I'm sorry. He was the coach at Lincoln High School. Their chess club.
Between 1965 and
between 1965.
Ted Herman.
Ted Herman, you know these people.
He's over there.
Are you here? Hi, Ted.
Yep. Anyway. The first I died, they did that he organized the tournament.
The first time
He organized.
Anton organized the tournament.
One of my games.
One of my games.
One of my games.
One of my games.
It's about the time for the.
Oh, based on a time forfeit.
I was celebrating because I win it night a money. I was the mother.
I was celebrating because
Lady. R-A-D-I-D.
Rating.
oh, I see. I was celebrating if my rating would result in my winning money.
Win it night celebrating.
However,
that blue butterfly.
Anton said you'd better play
Today,
the game.
not saying win a type of it.
He said do not claim a win on time forfeiture.
But wait for the opponent.
He said wait for another opponent.
The opponent.
Right, an opponent.
Outside of the time.
He said his opponent hadn't shown up yet.
So just wait for your opponent to show up.
That's right, that's right. Anyway, he can beg me to wait. It does time for win.
He encouraged you. Oh, he convinced me to wait and not to claim a time forfeiture.
I was impatient.
I was impatient.
Impatient.
I got it. I was impatient.
That was the first impression of me.
That was the first, that was my first impression from Anton.
And then he later became my good dad.
And later, Anton became my first chess.
No.
He later became
Dad.
chess
Dad.
dad.
He will hurt me on everything good. He would call me for every day I made.
He would scold you if you made a mistake. He would scold me if I made a mistake.
One of the most enduring lessons.
One of the most enduring. One of the most enduring lessons from him. One of the most enduring lessons he gave me is do not exchange pieces if you're behind.
Good lesson.
Most of the late 70s and early 80s. I would travel around Nebraska to play for POY events.
He enjoyed watching me win, and he enjoyed watching me win.
Anton enjoyed watching me win or lose.
He would tutor me on the deck.
He would tutor me about chess.
Many of my tactics came from him.
Many of my tactics came from Anton.
He and I used to play 25 dead, beat it.
He and I would play 25 cents speed chess.
Every time. He and I play each other.
Every day?
Every
chess club meeting.
Oh, at every chess club meeting, we would do that.
He told me his chess library.
He sold you his chess.
Showed
you. Chess library.
He showed you or sold you? Sold his chess library to you. And many of his Chess Life magazines came from him.
I miss him a lot.
I miss him a lot. Because his last year of his life, you finally beat him 2 times. Never beat him. Not ever. Just in the last year, I beat him twice. Oh, I beat him at Arby's.
Right.
There was a tournament at Arby's on 27th Street. Sorry, it was on a Sunday. Okay, a weekend on a Saturday. Yeah. And Arby's had a room where we could play chess. I finally beat him 2 times, never did before.
About 3 years later, few years later.
Okay, a few years later. You were at Tabitha? You're talking about the rehab center? Tabitha? Got it. I was at Tabitha Nursing Home. Hospice.
My father was there for me. After he died.
My father was there.
In the
for 1 week. And I happened to see Anton. In bed. At Tabitha.
That was the last time I saw him.
And that's the last time I saw him. I have regret. I have regret. I have a book written in Estonian, in Estonian language.
Carries.
Paul Carricks. Right. Who was a national hero, of chess hero from Estonia. But you didn't show the book to Anton. Because he had died.
Thank you, John.
And the very last person is Kevin Weinfelder, and Mike Matthews is going to say a brief word or two about Kevin.
Yeah, keep it brief.
Okay,
I met Kevin early in the 70s, like most of us, and became very obvious early on that a brilliant mind. In fact, he had a full academic scholarship to the University of Nebraska. And I was reminded tonight that although his rating only peaked, to the best of my knowledge, as a D player, he was instrumental in winning a crucial last round game at the Pan Am that helped propel Nebraska to the championship. The only game he won at the tournament. But the timing is everything. I don't know, it's getting late, and so I had a bunch of amusing stories in mind. If you're interested, catch up to me tomorrow, and I'll be more than happy to share. But he's a good man. I was saddened at his passing, and wish his memory nothing but the best. Thank you.
All right, well, if you didn't know these folks as your guests, thank you for letting us do all those in memoriam. You can see how much it means to a lot of us to remember all of these folks. Well, we are done except one last gift, and the table settings here. The other number I was given was 5. So we're going to give a full set to the winner. Everybody else who is at number 5 will get one piece. Now, I've already counted it out. It's Mark Kitchen. So Mark Kitchen, you get a king queen in the night. You didn't fly on an airplane, so you can take it back. So we have some of the ones back on the bar and all. Let's make sure we get you what do you have there? My eyes are a little off, but we'll get you the other 2. The other tables, like Dan here is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Count it out. If you have any arguments, arm wrestle. 1, 2, 3, 4. John Rose. Okay, you get the idea. So thank you, everyone. I hope this was a special time you'll always remember. I know it is for a whole bunch of us. And we'll reconvene tomorrow. Tomorrow night we have a really nice evening with a reception and other activities. So there just happens to be a chess tournament going on. It's a prop. Okay, so let's just keep enjoying ourselves all weekend. Thank you.
Chess in Air Force Base. I was at the station there for 8 weeks.